What's up? Me again. So I like watching Rogan, or listening to Rogan actually, and I watch it predominantly because it's easier to find on YouTube for me than it is on Spotify for whatever reason. Anyway, a lot of the stuff I talk about are a lot of the things that he addresses, and recently what really got me into the whole thing was him quoting Bruce Lee the way I quoted Bruce Lee, and of course. Egotistically, I was like, "Oh my God, Joe Rogan watches my shit," and this was before I got deplatformed from TikTok for talking about the nurse that died, Tiffany Dover, LaPontes Dover. Maybe she's not dead. It's true. I haven't seen the body. I haven't seen any of this, and she's in Alabama or Tennessee or some shit like that. So there's no way I could. However, every other suggestion points to the fact that she is, in fact, not with us anymore. Be that neither here nor there. TikTok deplatformed me for stuff like that. I said something about racism, like let's drop the shit. I got banned for harassment. Then there's a little shit on TikTok. He's like, I don't know, 11 years old, acts like a thug. He got the chains and texts him, I'm gonna smack you motherfuckers, smack you motherfuckers. So I said, you know what a pearl necklace is? That's what the pedophiles are gonna do to you when TikTok gives them your information. Verbatim. Video's still up. So that just goes to show how much, where they stand, you know, on the the crossroads of what's right and what's wrong. Anyway, I was watching Rogan and I came up with something through watching him, and oftentimes that's how I come up with things. I listen to other people's interpretations of what anything is, and then I adapt it to my own theory, be that adding to it or subtracting from it and substituting it with another fact. Because I'd like to think of myself as a true skeptic, and a true skeptic, when presented with information that contradicts their belief, must modify their belief because, in fact, that is logical, right? So this guy was talking about, and he always talks about this, and I agree with this. When we see like a brute, or like a Neanderthal, or just a picture of a man that's huge and burly and super hairy and everything like that, we think of the caveman, you know, like strong and blah. And then oftentimes genius or intelligence in general is associated with frailty. Like Stephen Hawking is a perfect example of that. You know, like his body was giving up on him when he's coming up with this crazy shit. And this is what Rogan said, you know, and it's true. Whenever you see someone smart, you think of a nerd, you know, squee wee glasses, but he's a genius, right? Because they're focusing most of their energy up here versus both. Someone like Rogan, I think he's intelligent, although he'll say that he's not. And same thing like with people in general, like somewhere in the middle. You know, I'm not saying Rogan is not strong. I've seen his Muay Thai kick, he fucking knocked down a tree with one. But at the same time, like, he's not this, like, you know, theoretical physicist coming up with shit. Like me, I am not a theoretical physicist, nor am I super intelligent. However, I am not also super frail. I would only like to think. So I guess we're at a crossroads, we're at a balance of that. Now, if you think about aliens or gray aliens or any kind of extraterrestrial beings, for the most part, except for the Nordics, which are just the blonde-haired, blue-eye Hitler beings, you know, the race that Hitler was got hell-bent after visiting Antarctica, which is interesting, but that's another conversation. We think of big heads, giant heads, skinny bodies, no clothes or some clothes, like in one suit, and big eyes, you know. So basically all of the life force or energy is, you know, converted into the cranium or the head, brain. And he said something that really, really sparked my interest. He said that, you know, if our brains were 150% larger, we would be able to live or exist at any time, in any dimension, and jump through and in between. Now that is what put me onto the tangent I'm about to explain. Now think about this. What if, or is it possible? I mean, it is possible, but what if any extraterrestrial that we see or are told about, if we haven't had the privilege of seeing one, any alien, anything is really just us from a different part of our evolutionary ladder? Now, if you think of a Neanderthal, you think of us in the past. Oh, we used to be cavemen. You know, we grew from apes into cavemen, and now where we are now. We're not so hairy, but we're also smart enough to be able to communicate in different languages and, you know, build shit, you know, travel, you know, things like that. Although the Egyptians, they did uncover a boat in the foot of the Pyramid of Giza that was considered a boat, which means that they did sail around the world, and that's how everyone knew about the pyramids. because they transformed their technology into it. Now, this per my last conversation on the podcast with someone called Rivas, the Phantom Universe, super popular, very, very intelligent man, made me feel like a complete dumbass because he's really, really well versed in history of that era, and I'm more like a Cold War type guy. He said that the pyramids, he believes, were constructed as forms of energy harnessing devices. Energy harnessing and manipulating, which means basically what I got out of it is that the pre-existing civilizations that were us, humans, were so well versed in the energy that was given to them that they created all these things as a matter of manipulating the energy. Now, what we're doing with electricity, or what, not Tesla, but what fucking Edison, I think it was Edison, took from Tesla. Because Tesla went to work for Edison, and Edison said to Tesla, if Tesla was like, your motors are shit, like I could rework these and make them different, better, more efficient. And Edison said, sir, if you do that, I'll pay you $1 million. So Tesla went to work, and for the next 2 years, or however many years, 5 years, he redid all of Edison's engines, motors, and he redid them into what they are now. And upon finishing and asking him for his $1 million, Edison chuckled and said, you're not from around here, are you, boy? And he didn't pay him. So Tesla said, go fuck yourself, and he went to work for himself, and then Edison pretty much died, like in shame and regret, saying, well, how the fuck did he do this, Because Tesla's a true genius, and Edison was just a dick, just kind of like Steve Jobs. Jobs isn't a genius, he's just a dick, a smart dick. Anyway, or was. So, and actually Gates too, if you think about it. Anyway, whatever. The point is that, what was I going? I'm off on a tangent, off my tangent. So, if it was just us from different points of our evolutionary ladder. Now, if time travel will exist at any point in time, like 100 years from now, 10 years from now, 10 years before today, if it ever exists, that means it has always existed. This is how we can loop the fact that all time is happening at once. Because if 100 years from now they invented a machine that time travels, right? That means you can traverse time, period. That means if that machine can travel in time, or energy, or whatever the fuck it is you want to transport through time, you could transport it back to today. If someone travels into today, that means today time travel exists, correct? Because where the fuck did he come from? The future, okay, well it exists. Because if it exists in the future, it's always existed. You know what I mean? I think it does. I think it exists. We just don't know it yet because we haven't seen anyone. I haven't seen anyone that has came into my room from another dimension, although it probably could happen during this video. Probably will. That door behind me that I painted on probably going to fall on my head and, for talking about shit like this, and then boom. Because every time I talk about supernatural things happen. But it's interesting. Not every time. Only sometimes when I say things or I talk about things of this nature, does shit start to fall, move, shift physically in my apartment that shouldn't be like physical. Like for instance, if I put this chain, I don't know why I have a chain here, but I do. Like if I hung it like this on a hook, all of a sudden there's no way that this could fall. All of a sudden it falls. I don't know. Riddle me that. Every extraterrestrial that we see is us from a different point of our evolutionary ladder. Meaning, like, if you compare me to someone that was born in Shanghai, and then you compare someone that was born in, I don't know, South Africa, and then Kenya. So it would be an African American, a Chinese person, or an Asian person, and whatever you pick, and then me, which is Caucasian, and then you just pick races of human beings that are completely different in terms of appearance physically, right? It's the same, I would say, as it goes for extraterrestrials. So if someone is from planet Mars, and they were born on Mars, and they were born on this part of Mars, and someone else was born on this part of Mars, they might have similarly different, I know it sounds weird, but similarly different physical appearances. Maybe the Martian that was born on the top of the planet is going to have blue hair, and the Martian on the bottom of the planet is going to have green hair, or no hair, or whatever, right? So just like there's different appearances in races, is different appearances in extraterrestrial races. But the fact of the matter is that all of them is one breed of species. So like we made dogs, right? Human beings invented dogs, period. Like dogs did not exist before we intervened into the canine genus, I guess, or phylum, whatever the fuck it is. and we made dogs. How did we make dogs? Well, there was wolves, and wolves would surround the human camps when we had the campfire, and we'd be eating our fucking beef or whatever the fuck it is. And then we would know that wolves are there. They wouldn't approach, they wouldn't attack because we had guns and we could kill them, but they would still, like, sniff it out. Some wolves are, I guess, the character of which, or the instinct of which, was weaker than others. Meaning, when we threw bones and scraps of food near our camp, near enough to where they could eat it if they wanted to, and still feel safe, some wolves would not touch it because they would know that no. Because to trap a wolf, you have to have a trap that is not touched by human hand, because they could smell it. It's very, very hard to trick a wolf into trapping it. Almost impossible. That's why usually when hunters back in the day had two prices on their cart, wolf and everything else, because wolf was that much harder to capture. So what happened was the weaker-minded wolves would eat the food, and then the next time we would throw the food closer and closer to the campfire until obviously we were close enough to where they eat out of our hands. Then we would domesticate them. Boom, dogs. Literally, that's where dogs came from. Or poodles, Great Danes, fucking boxers, Labradors. All of them came from wolves because of us. And the same way, we could say that happened to the human beings, right? So if a extraterrestrial life form, or what we think is an extraterrestrial life form, is really just us from the distant future that lives on a different planet, that was born on a different planet because we at some point branched off and started living on a floating asteroid, which, by the way, is very, very close to being a reality. There's a floating asteroid that 5,000 of us could move to, and that'll be a colony now on a floating asteroid. That's it, right? So somebody's going to be, obviously people are going to boom, boom there, but there's going to be too many people for that asteroid, and then they're going to have to move to another asteroid, so on and so forth, until we go to a planet, and then Venus, and then the atmosphere of Venus, or Mars, or whatever, what have you, right? And why is Mars so fucked up? Well, because I think once you get past space-time, time doesn't really exist the same way it does in space generally as it does here, even if you apply the same linear scale. Meaning, there's literally a time traveler alive right now, and it's a Russian dude that is on the space station, I believe, and he basically is going 16,000 kilometers an hour against the spinning of the globe. So the globe is spinning this way, and he's traveling 16,000 miles an hour this way for 2 years, coming back. Literally speaking, in our measurements, no theoretical physical shit, Newtonian physics measurement, he is living, I think, 3/4 of a second before all of us, because of the fact that he traveled the other way for so fast, blah, blah, blah. So in that same spectrum, now we're applying a little bit of the quantum mystical shit. Mars is so fucked up because there used to be a civilization on Mars, but that's, for us, that's in the future. So right now we're looking at Mars, but we're seeing all this desolate shit because it's crossing this boundary of where time doesn't really exist, right? So the things that we're seeing now and the spaceships that we're seeing now is really just us from the future, from a distant planet, far, far away. Because if I tell you right now that 750,000 years from now, a planet is going to explode. How far away is this planet? It's 750,000 light years away. Think about what I just said. 750,000 years from now, this is 750,000 years from now, in terms of future. A planet will explode that's 750,000 light years away, the speed of light. It explodes. It would happen right now for us, wouldn't it? Because light travels at the speed of light, and if it's 750,000 light years away, and it's 750,000 light years away, then it would happen right now. We would see something now that happens 750,000 years from now or from the past. Because if you think about it, either way in space, it's back and forth, it's the same shit. If we're looking this way, we're going to see, 750,000 light years away, but if we look this way, we're not going to see 750,000 light years ago. It's still light. Light travels everywhere, right? So that is exactly how this shit happens. I think that all the extraterrestrial beings that we're seeing, the reason that they know where to go, the reason that they know where Earth is and where we are, is because they have history of where they came from. Yes, you can explore and find other ones, but at the same time, when we're going to explore and find other planets and extraterrestrial beings, we're just going to find that it's us from the year 3000, blah, 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 blah. Then we're going to ask them, what fucking year is it now? Oh, it's the year 4166. And we're like, what the fuck? 4,166. I'm from 2021. Oh, you must be from Earth then. How do you know that? Well, because 2021 is when we left Earth. And then we moved to Mars in 31, blah, 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 blah. And now it's 44, blah, 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 blah. We're in fucking planet XYZ. But at the same time, it's all happening at once. You know what I mean? So, like, it's just how it doesn't exist. That's how time doesn't exist, because no matter where we go and how far we go, if you cancel out the fact that time is in a linear scale, it all makes sense why everything is happening all at once, because it is. What is happening now in this planet is happening somewhere else 4,000 years from now. And I am not me. I am bleh, but I'm me. You know what I mean? That's why we're all God. Because we are all happening to ourselves in different points in time and in different places in time. The reason I'm smiling so casually is because I'm getting chills. And it's not cold in this room. It's like 72 degrees. I didn't get chills this whole time. Once I started talking about that, I got chills. Now is right around the time where shit should start falling. Because when I believe that, well, they say that when you get the chills, it means you're speaking universal truth. It is a way of your body or your higher self telling you that you're speaking the universal truth. I think that the reason you get chills is because you're literally connecting with you in another parallel universe. Because I have talked to a theoretical physicist that is, well, I consider him a friend, I guess. I don't think he considers me a friend, maybe. Honestly, I don't think he has that many friends. And, you know, maybe I'm just some stupid ape that he wants to talk to and throw bananas at. But basically, what I got from him, and though he is as smart as he is, it's interesting to see how smart people like that, they never want to divulge something in a simplified form. In my opinion, if I was to explain to a 5-year-old how to make a beef Wellington, I would be able to do it with Play-Doh, with something. Anything that could relate to him, because I believe if you truly know a subject, in and out, you could explain it to a 5-year-old, because you know it that well. People like him, the theoretical physicist that he is, that he has a master's in, he said that he couldn't explain it to me because, one, he doesn't understand it, and two, it would be too difficult for me to understand. Just like when I was reading Dolores Cannon's book, and she was doing a past life regression on some dude that was from a different planet in his past life. This entity, or so to speak, his subconscious, when it was conversing with her, he said that a lot of times, he said, I cannot explain this because you will not understand. Motherfucker, try me. Try me. Try fucking explaining it to where I don't understand. And if I don't understand, trust me, I'll stop you and be like, you're right, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Chances are he just doesn't want to explain it because he would be breaking that time-space continuum. Because if you think about it, if we in the future fuse with AI, right, and we are fused with it in terms of we are AI, and we're okay with it, then certainly now a lot of us would not be okay with it, because a lot of us are still not okay with taking this fucking vaccine because conspiracy theorists like me telling everybody there's nanobites in it and that Bill Gates wants to control us and whatever. The thing is that people are most afraid of is that they're going to stop living before they want to or should stop living. So if Gates puts this vaccine in us, right, and I'm not saying that this is what's happening, first of all. I'm just saying that's the theory. If Gates puts this vaccine in us and the people that he chooses deemed not worthy of living die, and the rest live, I certainly wouldn't want to be the one that dies because some fucking nerd thinks so. Not knowing that maybe death is the way out of this fucking bonanza hole, and when you die and you see a light and you go towards the light, it's really a trap and you just fucking right back on Earth again. The only way to get out of this is to either, one, kill yourself, which is why it's so illegal, or two, is to be deemed unworthy of here because you're actually better and you're more evolved. So when you die via vaccine, you go to the next level. It's like your second Super Mario, the original Super Mario Brothers, when you have the tubes, you're level 3, level 17, or level 21. Who the fuck ever goes to level 3? No one, right? We always skip to 21 because we want to go on the highest level. Not knowing that if we went to level 3, there's another one there that we can freaking end the game with. So that's what it is. So if we're in the future, we're fused with AI, and we're okay with it because we understand that that's the way for us to evolve properly, is we invented AI, right? Let's bear with me here. We invented AI. And then AI got smarter than us, and it said, hey, you invented me. This is what you really need to do to survive. It's up to you, bro. We fused with it, and we're like, holy shit, you're absolutely right. Thank you, Mr. AI. Now we're half and half. If the future us comes back through this subconscious Dolores Cannon thing and tells us now that you're going to fuse with AI, and you're going to be okay with it, and someone like me or someone like, somebody more naive would be like, holy shit, I don't want to fuse with AI. And he starts a big panic, and people actually start fucking listening to this person. Then I might thwart the entire progression of the human evolution, which means probably not a good idea to divulge to someone that you might not think is ready. That's why they can't explain it. So this theoretical guy basically wouldn't tell me shit, but he did tell me that there is no possible way. It is seemingly impossible in physics for the multiverse theory to not be true. So there is pretty much no fucking way in hell or heaven that there are not parallel universes, which means that every decision you make, now this is where it goes, every decision you make branches you off to a different universe. And the universe that you didn't make the decision, or you made the decision in a different light, still exists. But the only thing is you cannot communicate with them. So there's a billion me's this way and a billion me's that way. But it's not the same thing. It's similarly the same thing. So maybe I'm not wearing a blue shirt. Maybe I'm wearing no shirt. Maybe I'm wearing a black overcoat. Maybe I'm a woman. Maybe I'm a broom. You know, it doesn't matter of how far or close you are, because me as a broom or a woman with a fucking overcoat exists somewhere further than me wearing a red shirt, because the decisions that I've made align me to a different path. If you think about two parallel lines and you diverge one by half of a degree, which is this, over here they'd still be close, but 2 miles from here, according to this scale, they're going to be far apart. So every decision you make splits you off into this different universe. And that's why there's billions of them, because 3 decisions could literally put you onto another fucking, butterfly effect, all that shit. The grandfather paradox plays in that sense. You can't go back and change it because it won't work. You can't do it. There's no way to do it because there's no way to enter into that universe. It just won't be possible. Because, well, let's say if you could wish for it. That's one of the wishes that you can't wish for, because it's like me wishing to never have said this. And even though that's possible because someone could time travel and cap me in the fucking head, it's different because somebody else would have said it. Somebody else like me would say it and people would listen. So every extraterrestrial being that we see is us from a different point of not dimensions. Not universes, but dimensions. Because there's dimensions and there's different parallel universes. That's 2 different things. In this universe that I live in the 3rd dimension, or whatever the fuck it is, the 4th dimension, the time, whatever. In this, there's like 12 or 13 dimensions, right? Things that we can't see. Even in this dimension that we're living in, a human fly, can see into other dimensions that we cannot because of the amount of eyes that it has. We can only see the light spectrum, which is this. We can only see this much of it. So a fly could see this much of it. Something else that could travel into the other dimension could see this much of it. The fucking the goggles that could let you see auras, that's so illegal now. The Kleinoscope, I think it's called. Kleiner vision. It's dicyanine, the dye that could, you could see other people's auras. And the guy that writes it, he writes that you don't need the goggles as an instrument to see. It's just it's an instrument to train you how to see human auras. Once you learn how to see it, you don't need them anymore. You can just see it. And if you could put it between 2 planes of glass, it says that you can see into the astral realm directly. Like you could have a window right here in my apartment with the dicyanine between 2 planes of glass, and you could look into it and you'll see a fucking ghost floating by. You'll see this, you'll see that. Like I already see some shit like that normally. And things that I've proved to myself is not real. That like not real like on camera. Like I saw it on camera, I saw it with my own eyes. So I'm like, this is not me hallucinating because I've gotten plenty of sleep. I don't do drugs, like, you know what I mean? And if I had the vision, I would be able to see more. So there's different dimensions in this universe which beings can travel them, but you still cannot travel into a parallel universe because you literally can't do it. It's just physically impossible. It's like physically impossible for me to go like this and just rip my head off because I would stop existing. I mean, it's physically possible, but it's impossible for me to rip my head off and continue existing if I'm a human being. Same thing. It's just not possible, So everything that we see is not from a different universe, but it's from a different dimension. And it's all us. And it's all happening right now because far away, like I said, 1 light year away, a light year ago is right now. 1 light year ago, 1 light year away that way is right now. No matter how far you are in distance, if you're that same amount in time, you will see it at the time. So we're just seeing things day after day after day that are just further and further away from us at the same time. Why did everything start happening in the 50s and not before? Think about it. Because that's how far away we were when we started going back. That's when it was invented for the first time. So somebody can now travel back to the 1800s, but we won't see it the way we did in the 50s. Because in the 1800s, we had no fathomable thing that could be explained to somebody from the 1800s what fucking time travel is. Actually, the 1800s, yes, but the 1500s. 300. Somebody tried traveling back into fucking biblical land. But maybe the grandfather paradox doesn't exist. Maybe it exists, but we can actually alter it. And that's why all of a sudden now we're seeing things that are in the Bible that have always been there, kind of, right? But this is not the Mandela effect. Like, they've always been there, but we've never looked at them this way. I've never looked at the book of Ezekiel and said, why did he see four beings with the likes of man emerge from a cloud that had amber light emanating from it? Why did I never think of that as a spaceship before? Why did I always believe that it was angelic gods and beings? It's a fucking cloud with lights coming from it that four creatures came out of. What does that sound like to you? A cloud with Jesus or a fucking extraterrestrial? Yeah? You know what I mean? So just think about that. I don't know how many tangents I just went off of, but at least I'm back onto the same Albuquerque road. So sorry if I confused you, but if I did, I don't really give a fuck, because this is not for you predominantly. It's for me to remember my own tangents and remember where I am in my evolutionary ladder. Hopefully the Mandela effect won't have too much consequence on this. And if it does, so be it. I'll come up with another theory, because I am, in fact,